wish I had a gadget poem. I rarely read this poem from my last book just because, I don't know, I find it doesn't kind of sit inside a longer reading, but for open mic I think it might work. It's called Tales from the Revolution. A few years ago I read a biography of Castro, and then which led to me reading a biography of Frank Sinatra, which then led me to reading a biography of Errol Flynn. And they were all sort of the sort of continuum of the three that joined them together was late 50s Cuba. So I sort of strung this poem together from various things that came up in those biographies. So most of the hard facts in this are true, though some metaphors are mine. Tales from the Revolution. It's Christmas, 1958, and is there anything sexier than Cuba? Errol Flynn, faded swashbuckler, bloated from a floating decade of vodka, bent spoons and hypodermics, steers his white convertible Havana to Santiago, to the central battle sectors of the revolution. He's here to shoot his latest feature, Cuban Rebel Girls, starring ingenue Beverly Adland, 17, thin and green as Cain, playing the young American in love with a rebel fighter. Flynn will appear as himself. There's a spot to park back of the hotel, so they dock the car, then ask around for Castro. He's here, turns out, across town, in a room at the Central America, digesting the better share of a festive meal of turkey, black beans, rice, and a cup of mud-black coffee. Past midnight, a message comes. Who? You know, Robin Hood, Don Juan, Captain Blood. The last minutes of December, casinos and nightclubs boom with big bands and high-stakes swagger. Lucky Luciano, capo de tutti capi, from a high window verging on the newest year, admires the waves' blunt force brushing the rails of the Malecon. He's here for the fireworks show and to toast the last heyday of a gangster era, when the mob boss delegates paid him homage, when the honeymoon of Frank and Ava shared the self-same atmosphere with Disney, Astaire, and the tobacco reek of Churchill's pout reflected off the Nationale's tiled lobby. But now the break comes, as Batista arrives across town, late to his own private party. Glum, he eats dinner where he's standing, clears his throat as the date ticks over to the first dark minute of 59. Already back in the presidential suite, his children clutch their stamped visas. The DC-4 is fueling on the tarmac, waiting on the hurt, defiant speeches of another violent shift of power. His guests' leather shoes creak. He's here to say they have 1 hour to pack and join him as he slips through the noose of history. Now there's a jangling of telephones in Miramar, high-heel staccato and teary gasps down the halls, a collective rummage for money and jewels. Those with no time to change arrive at the customs counter, still in gowns and tuxedos. 8 a.m., January 1st. Edwin Tetlow, British correspondent, is startled awake by a sudden, unmistakable burst of silence. He's just gone with the night, his assistant blurts. Who? You know, Batista, El Presidente. Along the Malecon, nothing moves, no resident, police, or soldier, and the painted shutters of the shops are closed. Tetlow eyes his Underwood, his work-rubbed keys. He's here to finesse the reports of troops, chaos at the desks of foreign embassies with the sound of news coming off the wire. The letters clack against their rollers, predictable as the rush of surf, as Hollywood or gunfire. And I should just add at the end that the critics generally agree that Cuban Rebel Girls was the worst film that Errol Flynn.